Hello everyone, it's Heather from Heather Travels, and in today's video, I'm going to rank the cruise ports that I have visited. Okay, before we get started today, would you take a second please and just click on the red subscribe button right underneath the video? That would really mean a lot to me. And if you want to get notification of all of my upcoming videos, click on the little bell right next to it. To date, I have been on 5 cruises. 2 of them were 7-night Eastern Caribbean cruises, and the other 3 were Bahamas cruises. So my ports that I've been to are fairly limited because I repeated quite a few ports multiple times. But I decided that I wanted to rank for you the ports that I have been to help you decide which itinerary might be best for you. One thing I kind of have decided from watching other people's videos about the differences between the Western and Eastern Caribbean is I don't know that I'll ever do a Western Caribbean cruise. Just some of the things that I've seen them say and some of the ports of call in Western Caribbean itineraries just really don't appeal to me. So I don't think you should hold your breath waiting for me to do a comparison of Eastern Caribbean and Western Caribbean, because I don't think I'll ever do a Western Caribbean. I really do like the Eastern Caribbean. The Eastern Caribbean is very pretty. I also really like sea days, and you get usually 3 sea days on an Eastern Caribbean itinerary. So that's something I really enjoy about that. And the Bahamas is a good solid choice, especially for a first cruise, or if you don't have a lot of time for your cruise, because most Bahamas itineraries are only 3, 4, or 5 nights long. I basically have visited 6 cruise ports, most of them more than once. So I'm going to rank these 6 cruise ports that I have visited in order from my least favorite to my most favorite. Okay, ready? Here we go. All right, in the number 6 slot, and I really debated about this, and this is one of the cruise ports that I have only been to once, and that is San Juan in Puerto Rico. When you've only been to a cruise port one time, it's hard to say if you would have the same experience another time. There were some disadvantages to my experience in Puerto Rico, some negatives. One was that it was on my honeymoon, and if you've watched all my cruises video, which I will link up here, you'll see that my honeymoon was not necessarily the greatest experience for me, nor was my marriage. One thing, so I would have enjoyed it probably more with different company. Secondly, I didn't do any research about San Juan before we went there. And so I didn't have any shore excursions booked. I didn't know anything about the port at all. This is not something I recommend. I recommend that whenever you have a port of call, if you're planning on getting off the ship, you need to do some research and find out what your options are. Even if you're not going to book a shore excursion through the cruise line or through an independent shore excursion company, you still want to do some research about the port so that you know what to expect, even if you're getting off the ship and just walking around on your own or whatever. So I didn't do any research when we went to San Juan, so I really didn't know what to expect or where to go or anything like that. Since I've been there, I've learned more about San Juan and realized some things that we could have done that maybe I would have liked, like history-related things, seeing the forts and things like that. But even with that, it just really didn't appeal to me very much. I mean, it was okay, and it was quite hot and humid. It was October when we were there, and it was still very hot and humid, and I don't like being hot, and I don't like being sticky. And we just basically walked around on our own, and I just didn't enjoy it. We walked around Old San Juan, and I didn't necessarily also feel the safest. And I don't remember feeling that way any other time on a cruise. Well, maybe a little bit, but that was definitely the one time I felt like the least safe. And maybe it was because we were by ourselves, and I was just kind of counting like my husband's going to keep me safe, but I don't know if he really would. I don't know. I think every other time I've been off the ship in a port of call, I've always been in some, well, except at private islands, I've always been in some kind of organized shore excursion. So that made me feel a little uneasy. So I just didn't have a real positive experience in San Juan. If you've been to San Juan and you did have a positive experience and you really enjoyed it, put it in the comments below and tell me what should I have done differently. Because as of right now, that's going to be in my number 6 slot. Number 5 on my list is Nassau in the Bahamas. And many people will tell you this, especially these days. It didn't used to be as bad, but Nassau, the State Department actually has a travel alert out for Nassau because of crime against tourists. There's been everything from robbery to kidnapping to murder. So it's not necessarily the safest place always. And that's, I mean, it's still a very small percentage of chance of that happening, but they do say if you're going to get off the ship in Nassau, you want to be with an organized shore excursion or have a very specific plan to be like in a group and with people around you and stuff like that. So I've been to Nassau a bunch of times. I mean, for one thing, I went to Nassau not on a cruise with my dad when I was 15, 16 years old. I have a video about it right here on Bahamas Drama. And so I had already been there before I had ever been on a cruise ever. So I already knew what Nassau in the Bahamas was like because we rented a car and drove all around and everything. This was in the 1980s, so it's a long time ago. But I had already had really good familiarity with Nassau from having visited it directly because I flew directly there. And then I think I've been on it on every single one of my cruises. I think I've been on it on all 5 of my cruises. And we've done a bunch of different things in Nassau. And I did actually enjoy all of them. We've done like a bus tour. We've done like a bus walking combo tour. We've gone to Atlantis. No, just the last time. Our last cruise in 2017 Disney Wonder, we did not get off the ship. And we planned that ahead of time. But all other 4 times we got off the ship. So actually had a great time at Atlantis. If you can afford Atlantis, that's a really good option. It's a very pretty resort and there's lots and lots to do there. We actually took a taxi on our own. We didn't go as an organized shore excursion through the cruise line. And we rented a day room. So we rented a hotel room for the day, which was something that you could do at Atlantis. And then we were able to like use the room to change our clothes and stuff like that and go out and enjoy all the amenities of the resort. So that's an option. And then the other time, I think I always did like some kind of historical walking tour or stuff like that. And the stuff we saw, I enjoyed and liked. So, and my son's been there. Andrew's been there on his own without me. He went with his high school group. They got off and they went in small groups and went around somehow in Nassau and he was fine. So, and that was in 2013. Again, heed the State Department's warning and be cautious. Because I've been there so many times already, unless we're going to go to Atlantis again, because the last time we were there, Megan was a baby and Ben's never been to Atlantis. I might take them there again so that they can experience it, but otherwise I probably won't get off the ship in Nassau. But the one thing I will say about Nassau is even if you don't get off the ship, the views from the ship where you dock and going in and out of the port are pretty. So, it's pretty to see. Honestly, though, San Juan is that way too. You go past that fort and stuff in San Juan, and it's very pretty what you see from the ship in San Juan. So I wouldn't completely rule San Juan out, even if you don't want to get off the ship, just because the views are nice. Okay, in the number 4 spot, I'm going to put St. Thomas. St. Thomas is part of the United States Virgin Islands, and it's very Americanized. So more so, I would say, than San Juan. Even though Puerto Rico is a part of the United States, it's a Commonwealth of the U.S., it didn't feel very American to me in San Juan. It felt very Spanish culture. So, and a lot of people speak Spanish there. So it was different. But St. Thomas feels very American. I mean, there's McDonald's and, so and everybody's speaking English just like as if you were here. And it's very tropical and very pretty. It's very hilly, like mountainous, and steep. There's a gondola ride you can take there. I haven't actually done that. I would like to do that. And there's some beautiful beaches on St. Thomas. And then you can also take a shore excursion from St. Thomas to the neighboring island of St. John. I've never done that, but I've heard that that's very nice. Been to St. Thomas twice, had a really positive experience the first time with Andrew. The second time I went with my husband to Megan's Bay, and that was not a positive experience because of his choices, but which you can hear about that in that same video, All My Cruises. St. Thomas is very pretty and there's lots to do there. and I think you would enjoy it very much and feel very safe and comfortable in St. Thomas. Okay, I actually really debated between St. Thomas and St. Maarten, but I actually put St. Maarten at number 3. I just had really neat experiences on St. Maarten, except for getting stung by sea lice, which is jellyfish larvae, when we went swimming in St. Maarten. St. Maarten is a very unique island to visit. Half of it is Dutch and the other half is French, and they are actually, belong to the Netherlands, and the other half belongs to France. So when you go on either side, you're going to get a completely different language and cultural experience than the other side. So most cruise ships dock on the Dutch side, built up, and there's shopping right there, and it's very colorful. There's even a beach right there, like basically right where you get off. Lots to do right in the town there when you get off at not Marigot. Marigo's on the French side. Why can't I think of the town that you stop at in St. Maarten? I don't know. I can't think of it. Anyway, but you can take shore excursions, or you can get a taxi or whatever to go over to the French side. The French side is less developed, I would say, and less populated, but people do speak French over there. And if you're interested in getting like French cuisine, you want to go to the French side. Anyway, I really enjoyed St. Maarten, and there's lots of options of things to do on St. Maarten too. It's a great place for beach day, or if you like shopping or tours. We also did the butterfly farm in St. Maarten, which was really interesting and neat. So St. Maarten is in my number 3 spot. Okay, number 2 is Royal Caribbean's private island of Coco Key. I have only been there once, and it was on our last cruise in 2018 before they redid it as Perfect Day at Coco Key. So the Thrill Water Park was not there yet, and it was different than it is now. I haven't been there since they've done that, so I don't know if it would change in my rankings. I kind of doubt it. I feel like it would stay the same. I think there's still a good variety of things to do there. I would be interested in hearing from people who have been there since they've changed it. Is there still places to get that same unspoiled tropical island feel like there was before? I'd be interested to know that. I thought it was lovely. It was extremely hot when we were there. It was August, and my kids actually got a little bit bored. All we did was swim in the ocean. The only thing we paid for was a beach umbrella, which we definitely needed, or we would have been fried. So we didn't pay to do anything extra. And at that time, before they added all that stuff, there wasn't a lot to do. It really was kind of focused on just the beach and swimming in the ocean. And so, we liked doing that. And it was very nice to be able to do that then because the water was warm. Whereas the cruise before that, we were at Castaway Cay in March, and the water was freezing and we couldn't really go in at all. It was enjoyable for that. If you're looking for a nice relaxing beach day, that's what Coco Key was like as of 2 years ago. But I don't know if you can still get that same kind of experience there now. So if somebody knows, put it in the comments below. There's lots of things that appeal to me about going there now that I'm interested in trying if we go back again. So Coco Key is at my number 2 spot. Okay, and number 1, I kind of already mentioned it, is Castaway Cay. Number 1 is Disney's private island of Castaway Cay in the Bahamas. I love Castaway Cay. I'm nervous/excited about the fact that they're now building a second Bahamas private location at Lighthouse Point. I'm curious to see if it's going to end up being as nice as Castaway Cay, but I'm also happy that they're doing that because I think that will alleviate some of the pressure on Castaway Cay when they add 3 more ships to the fleet. So, because right now, as far as I know, and somebody tell me if I'm wrong, I think when you go to Castaway Cay, you're always the only ship there because nobody goes to Castaway Cay except Disney ships, and right now there's only 4. And I think they have the schedule such that you would only have 1 ship in port at a time, and so it never feels crowded at all. And it's very clean, it's very colorful, it's very organized, it's extremely well maintained and well done. It's just a beautiful, nice, awesome place to go, whether you're a family with big kids, little kids, multi-generational, adults by yourself. There's an adults-only beach. I had an in-cabana, in-hut massage at the adults-only beach one time. That was just heavenly. My kids have had fun there. So it's just a really, really nicely done private island, and I highly recommend it. So Castaway Cay is my number 1. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope that this ranking of my Eastern Caribbean and Bahamian ports of call has helped you maybe in planning one of your upcoming cruises. And if you have any questions about any of these places, please leave them in the comments below. And again, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to please subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for joining me today. Safe travels.